Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about something that hits close to home for all of us, grocery prices. You know that moment when you're at checkout, you see the total, and your jaw just drops? It's a shared frustration that many families are dealing with. But recently, there's been a lot of talk about Donald Trump and whether his plans could actually bring grocery prices down. So, what's going on here? Are prices really going to drop? Or is it more complicated than that? We're going to break it down together, look at what's being said, what it means for your wallet, and whether there's any truth to these promises. Stick around because understanding this could help you plan better and make sense of what's happening in the economy. Now let's start with what Trump has been saying. During his campaign and after his election, Trump made groceries a big focus. He claimed that lowering food prices was a priority and tied it to things like energy costs and fixing supply chains. He even said, "We're going to bring those prices way down." Sounds great, right? But here's where it gets tricky. Later, in another interview, Trump admitted that lowering grocery prices would actually be really hard. His exact words were, "It's very hard to bring things down once they're up." And that's true. Bringing prices down, especially food prices, is not as simple as flipping a switch. There are so many factors at play here. Let's take a closer look at why prices went up in the first place and why it's tough to reverse that trend. First off, you got energy costs. Transportation, farming equipment, food processing, all of it relies on fuel, and when energy prices rise, food prices follow. Trump says increasing American energy production could help bring costs down. But here's the thing, the US is already producing oil at record highs, so there's only so much impact new policies could have. Then there's the supply chain. We all remember the pandemic, right? The disruptions it caused to food production and shipping pushed prices way up, and even though things have improved since then, supply chains are still fragile. Trump says he'll fix that too, but he hasn't given many details on how. And this is where some experts are concerned. Trump's proposals to raise tariffs, basically taxes on imports, could actually make supply chain issues worse. And why? Because a lot of the fresh fruits and vegetables in US grocery stores come from places like Mexico and Canada. If tariffs are slapped on those imports, the cost of food could go up, not down. And there's another factor, labor. The people who harvest crops and keep food moving to grocery stores play a huge role in keeping prices stable. Trump's plans for mass deportations of undocumented workers could shrink the labor pool in agriculture. If farms don't have enough workers to pick crops, food supply drops and prices go up. Some farmers are already worried about this. One farmer even said, if they can't get our crops picked and sent to market, there could be less produce and also higher prices. It's a real concern that we can't ignore. So, what does all of this mean for you? Well, food prices have definitely been rising over the past few years, but here's the good news. The rate of increase has slowed down. Right now, grocery prices are growing at about 1.6 to 2% annually, which is much lower than the spikes we saw earlier. Things like gas prices have also come down, and that's helped stabilize costs. But keep in mind, food prices are notoriously unpredictable. Just look at eggs. Remember when egg prices skyrocketed because of avian flu? They're rising again now because supply is low and demand is high. These are the kinds of issues that no administration, Trump's or anyone else's, can fully control. Now, Trump has also argued that high grocery prices were part of the reason he won the election. And he's not wrong that inflation, especially on things like food, has been a major issue for voters. A lot of families have been feeling squeezed, and promises to ease that burden resonate. But the reality is Trump's policies, like tariffs and immigration changes, could make the situation more complicated and even lead to higher costs. Economists are already warning about this. So then you might be wondering, so what can we actually expect? That's a fair question, and the answer is, it's hard to say. Trump's focus on energy and supply chains might help a little, but only if those plans are executed carefully and don't create new problems. At the same time, there are global factors like weather events, international trade, and labor shortages that can impact food prices no matter who's in charge. You see, it's not just a domestic issue. So, what can you do about all this? If grocery prices are still a challenge, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, plan meals around seasonal produce, because it's usually cheaper. Second, take advantage of sales and digital coupons. And if you haven't already, consider trying store brands. They're often just as good and much less expensive. Little habits like these can really add up over time. Also, let's not forget, wages have been rising for many people. So even though prices are higher, some families are seeing more money in their pockets to help offset those increases. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed changes in your grocery bill? Are prices still too high where you live? Or do you feel like things are starting to stabilize? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I always love hearing from you. And at the end of the day, whether Trump can really lower grocery prices remains to be seen. The promises sound nice, but the reality is complicated and there are no quick fixes. That's why staying informed and managing your own budget carefully is more important than ever. Thanks for joining me today. If you found this discussion helpful, please give it a like and share it with someone who might benefit. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more practical, clear financial tips. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.